A single overlooked bolt cost one rider a $4,500 engine rebuild. Another lost control at 70 miles per hour because of a maintenance mistake anyone could make. These aren't rare horror stories. They happen every day to riders who think they're taking care of their bikes. Today we're exposing the 10 deadliest maintenance mistakes that destroy motorcycles and empty bank accounts. Number 3 is something almost everyone does wrong. Number 10, ignoring chain maintenance. At number 10, we have one of the most common but devastating mistakes: neglecting your chain. That small metal loop connecting your engine to your rear wheel is doing a massive amount of work. An unmaintained chain doesn't just wear out faster, it destroys everything it touches. When a chain stretches and wears, it grinds down your sprockets. Suddenly, what should have been a $100 chain replacement becomes a $400 repair, including new sprockets. But the real danger comes when chains snap at speed. At best, you're stranded. At worst, a whipping chain can lock your rear wheel or punch a hole through your engine case. This isn't theoretical. Mechanics see it all the time. The solution is simple. Check your chain tension and lubrication every 500 miles and visually inspect it before every ride. That 30-second check can save you thousands. 9. Incorrect tire pressure. Number 9 is a silent killer: wrong tire pressure. Most riders check their tires visually, thinking they can spot a low tire. You can't. Underinflated tires don't just wear out faster, they completely change how your bike handles. They run hotter, wear unevenly, and in extreme cases can cause catastrophic blowouts. One blown tire at highway speed can mean a $15,000 hospital bill, not to mention bike repairs. Overinflated tires are just as dangerous, creating a smaller contact patch and reducing grip when you need it most. The tiny footprint where your tire meets the road is already small enough. Don't make it worse. The fix costs nothing. Check your tire pressure with a gauge when the tires are cold every week. Your owner's manual lists the correct pressures, not what's written on the tire sidewall, which is the maximum, not the recommended pressure. Number 8, using the wrong oil or not changing it. Number 8 is a mistake that slowly kills your engine: using the wrong oil or skipping oil changes. Your engine has hundreds of metal parts sliding against each other thousands of times per minute. Oil is the only thing preventing them from destroying each other. The wrong oil viscosity can starve critical engine components, especially during cold starts or extreme heat, and old oil becomes contaminated with metal particles and combustion byproducts, turning from a lubricant into liquid sandpaper. One missed oil change interval can accelerate engine wear by years, turning a $50 maintenance item into a $2,000 top-end rebuild, or worse, a complete engine replacement. The solution is straightforward. Follow the manufacturer's recommended oil change intervals and always use the exact oil specification in your owner's manual. Your bike was engineered for specific oil properties. Don't second-guess the engineers. Stay with me, because coming up is the maintenance mistake that mechanics see every week, and it's costing riders thousands in unnecessary repairs. Number 7. Neglecting brake fluid. At number 7, we have a critical safety system most riders completely ignore: brake fluid. Unlike engine oil, brake fluid doesn't get the attention it deserves, but it's arguably more important. Nothing matters more than stopping power. Brake fluid is hygroscopic. It absorbs water from the air even in a sealed system. That water lowers the fluid's boiling point and corrodes internal brake components. On a long descent or during aggressive riding, contaminated fluid can boil, creating vapor in the lines that compresses when you squeeze the lever. The result? Your brakes suddenly fail when you need them most. The cost of fresh brake fluid? About $10. The cost of a brake system rebuild after corrosion? Easily $500. And the cost of brakes failing at the wrong moment? Potentially everything. The solution is simple. Change your brake fluid every 2 years regardless of mileage, and immediately if it looks dark or cloudy. Clear, honey-colored fluid is what you want to see in that reservoir. 6. Over-tightening fasteners. Number 6 is something well-intentioned riders do all the time: over-tightening bolts and fasteners. That just give it one more turn mentality destroys threads, snaps bolt heads, and cracks expensive components. Aluminum parts are particularly vulnerable. When you strip threads in an aluminum engine case or cracked a clutch cover, you're looking at hundreds in repairs. And the classic over-tightened oil drain plug? That can turn a simple oil change into a complete engine removal to repair stripped threads. What makes this mistake so expensive is that the damage often isn't covered under warranty. It's considered owner error. That means you're paying full retail for parts and labor. The solution is investing in a torque wrench and actually using it. Every important fastener on your bike has a specific torque value listed in the service manual. Those numbers aren't suggestions, they're engineering requirements. If you're getting value from these tips, hit that subscribe button. We post new motorcycle content every week that can save you time, money, and keep you safer on the road. 5. Improper battery maintenance. Halfway through our list at number 5 is poor battery care, a mistake that prematurely kills more motorcycle batteries than anything else. Modern batteries aren't maintenance maintenance-free, even if they're sealed. They discharge when sitting, especially with always-on electronics like clocks and alarms. A repeatedly discharged battery sulfates internally, permanently reducing capacity until it can't start your bike. Replacement batteries aren't cheap, $100 to $300 depending on your bike. But the hidden costs are more significant. That dead battery often triggers fault codes in your bike's ECU, sending riders to dealers for unnecessary diagnostic time at $100 plus per hour. The solution is simple. Use a quality battery tender whenever your bike sits for more than a week. A $50 smart charger can extend battery life by years, saving hundreds in replacement costs and preventing electrical gremlins. Number 4. Ignoring suspension maintenance. Number 4 on our list is overlooking suspension maintenance. Those forks and shocks controlling your ride do more than make things comfortable. They keep your tires in contact with the road. Worn fork seals don't just leak oil. They allow contamination into the fork internals, scoring bushings and damping rods. What should have been a $100 seal replacement becomes a $1,000 fork rebuild. Rear shocks and linkages are even more critical. When linkage bearings seize from lack of grease, they can crack swing arms or frames, turning a $50 maintenance item into a potential write-off. The most expensive aspect, riding with worn suspension drastically reduces tire life and handling predictability, adding hidden costs and safety risks. The solution is following the suspension maintenance schedule in your service manual. Fork oil changes, linkage greasing, and regular inspection of seals aren't optional tasks. They're essential preventive maintenance that saves thousands. Number 3. DIY electrical improvements. At number 3, we have homemade electrical modifications, the source of more diagnostic nightmares than perhaps anything else. The typical scenario starts innocently, adding auxiliary lights, a phone charger, or heated grips. But improper installation, using wiretaps, not fusing new circuits, or overloading existing ones, creates problems that can take professionals hours to trace. Modern bikes have sensitive electronics that don't tolerate voltage spikes or poor grounds. One bad connection can corrupt an ECU, requiring replacement at costs exceeding $1,000. And finding intermittent electrical faults often requires complete wiring harness removal, labor-intensive work that can run into many hundreds of dollars. The solution isn't avoiding modifications, but doing them properly. Use proper connectors, appropriate gauge wire, separate fuses for each accessory, and relays for high-current devices. Better yet, have a professional handle complex electrical additions. Number 2. Ignoring valve adjustments. Our runner-up at number 2 is skipping scheduled valve adjustments, an invisible maintenance item with massive consequences. Valve clearances change as engines wear. Too tight and valves don't fully close, burning the edges and allowing compression to escape. Too loose, and you get excessive noise, reduced performance, and accelerated cam wear. The cost of a professional valve adjustment, usually $300 to $700 depending on the bike. The cost of rebuilding a head with burnt valves, easily $2,000 or more. And a complete top-end rebuild after valve damage allows metal debris into the engine, you're looking at $3,000 plus. What makes this especially costly is that valve damage doesn't happen suddenly. It progresses over thousands of miles, often unnoticed until catastrophic failure. By then, the damage is extensive and expensive. The solution is simple but often overlooked. Follow the valve adjustment intervals in your service manual religiously. It's expensive maintenance but vastly cheaper than the alternative. Number 1. Using cheap, non-OEM parts. And finally, our number 1 most expensive maintenance mistake, using bargain parts and fluids. This single decision compounds every other maintenance issue we've discussed. That $15 oil filter from a generic brand likely has lower quality filter media and a weaker bypass valve. Those $7 per quart oil savings might cost you engine longevity. And those eBay brake pads at 1/3 the price of OEM? They could contain abrasives that wear your $300 brake rotors prematurely. The false economy of cheap parts creates a devastating ripple effect through your entire bike. Inferior materials and quality control lead to premature wear of connected components, turning small savings into massive expenses. This doesn't mean every aftermarket part is bad. High-quality aftermarket parts from reputable manufacturers often match or exceed OEM specs. But the key word is quality, not price. The solution is using OEM or premium aftermarket parts from established brands, especially for critical systems like brakes, fuel delivery, and electronics. The extra cost is insurance against bigger expenses down the road. The common thread among all these maintenance mistakes is that small savings or convenience now creates massive expenses later. That $50 oil change you skipped could cost $5,000 in engine damage. The $15 chain lube you didn't apply might result in a $1,500 repair bill. Proper motorcycle maintenance isn't cheap, but it's vastly less expensive than the alternative. Following your service manual's maintenance schedule isn't just about keeping your warranty valid. It's about preventing the kind of catastrophic failures that leave you stranded, injured, or facing repair bills that exceed the value of your bike.